It's not just enough to know this stuff. I must now apply. That's a quote from Bruce Lee. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. I know that in order for me to love somebody else, I need to love myself. Now, how do I do that? Just say, it's easy. Say good things about yourself. What do you like about yourself? If I ask you, what do you like about yourself, or what do you don't like about yourself, which question are you quicker to answer?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And on today's podcast, it really goes out to all the people that have had to care for somebody with chronic disease, somebody with ailments, pain, cancer. We know the type of toll it takes on people and what it takes to actually come through that. And today's guest really shares the vulnerable and authentic journey of caring for his wife who had brain cancer. Now, before we get into the podcast episode, if you are new to the podcast, welcome in. This is the place where we bring in thought leaders, world experts in longevity, performance, and human potential. And if you're returning to the podcast, let me just say thank you. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, share the podcast with your friends and family members. If it's given you any value over the years, it really helps our show grow. And if you are new to the community and you want to learn a little bit more about what we do, we have a lot of free resources, including lecture notes, breathwork exercises, and resources on performance and longevity by going to thrivestatestarter.com. So check that out. Now, on today's podcast, I actually share a clip of the Thrive State Summit with my good friend, Ray Singleton. If you don't know who he is, he's an artist, a creator, a singer, and several years ago was caring for his wife with brain cancer. And he shared his remarkable story, and that story actually inspired Ellen for him to be on that show. And on today's episode, you'll really see and feel this human being going through this enormously stressful process. How do we actually have the tools to deal with this type of stress in our life? And if you enjoyed today's conversation and want to learn more about the Thrive State Summit or get access to it, you can go to mythrivestate.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce this conversation to a beautiful human being. So please enjoy this conversation with myself and Ray Singleton. Hello and welcome back to another session of the Thrive State Summit. I'm your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. With me today, good friend of mine, Ray Singleton. I actually met the guy, and look, you meet this guy, he is glowing. You can feel it in his energy right now. Ray Singleton is a serial entrepreneur, singer, songwriter, musician, public speaker from Charleston, South Carolina. And in early 2020, there was a video of him serenading his beautiful wife, Rosalind, before her second surgery to remove a brain tumor that went viral. It ended up stealing the hearts of millions of people, even Ellen DeGeneres. So Ray has been seen singing and performing all his life, with his biggest performances seen on season 16 of America's Got Talent, where he received yeses from all four judges, even Simon Yes. On November 15th, 2022, Rosalind's beautiful wife, Rosalind, passed away after a 12-year battle with brain cancer. And he has devoted his life to continuing the memory and legacy of his wife and spreading her message of positivity around the world. Through his music and speaking engagement, he continues to promote positivity, fun, and love. I felt that the first time I met this guy. And after seeing him live in person, you won't forget the experience. You're not going to forget this experience here in the summit as well. Ray, welcome to the summit.
We need an air horn right there, man. What's happening, brother? What's
Dude,
going
brother, you know, you and I were just talking prior to this interview, and we're just talking about all the different aspects of the things you do. You're performing in shows, you're speaking at colleges, you're speaking to corporations, you're helping people who got foreclosures get money back. There's so many different hats. I'm like, how does this guy do it all? But here's the thing that's the hugest kicker for me. You had all this stuff going while being a full-time caregiver to your wife not too long ago.
Yeah, man.
How did you manage it all, brother?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me. It is such a pleasure to be here, man. I'm glad that the friendship that we garnered got us here, man. So I appreciate your time. How did I manage it all, man? I was able to live with Superwoman. Like my wife was the strongest person I had ever met, and I probably will ever meet in my life. The amount of love I had for her, like literally, when I say overshadowed everything. I had more energy. I was more creative. My ideas flourished more because I had to figure out what can I do to help my woman, to help my girl. So whether that was memorizing a medicine schedule, whether that SAS method for a PICC line from a staph infection she had, I had to give her medicine every 12 hours for 6 weeks straight. You had the saline, administer saline, heparin. You got to put your gloves on. You got to sterilize the tip. You got to take it out. Like I understood what was her dexamethasone, Timidor, hydromorphone. Like because I loved her, that stuff is still in my brain, man. That's what love would do. When you say in the bio, like we're talking about, love is so powerful. Love will literally transform you. Love transformed my mind. I never thought I would have to go and to learn about medical stuff. I never thought I would have to know how to take sutures out of a head. Like literally, her head would be leaking from surgery. I never knew I would have to do that. I never thought about that. But because I loved her, my brain said, "Yep, learn all of this and retain it."
Love, definitely a very powerful emotion and medicine. And as you're saying, I'm getting goosebumps. You know, I'm a doctor, and you know, back in the day, I did treat a lot of oncology patients, and I know just the amount of time it takes and the energy it takes to get somebody, you know, to their appointments, to come back and help them do their activities of daily living. It requires mental, physical, emotional bandwidth to be able to provide. And I know some people that just get so worn out that
Yeah.
sometimes there's resentment that builds up or emotions of anger that builds up. Did that ever happen to you? And if not, well, if so, what did you do with it? But if
Yeah.
not, what do you think about you and how you were looking at the situation? Were you able to take on all this, you know, responsibility for caretaking?
Go back to looking at the example that my wife said. Like, if she, and I'm looking, I got a sticker of her smile on my laptop. If she could go through having her head cut open 4 different times, 20 rounds of radiation, taking 20 different pills a day, and she could do that with, no, don't get me wrong, she wouldn't sunshine and roses every day, but to go through what she went through with a smile on her face, to walk into these oncology offices and have everybody light up when she walks in. You have the nurses loving her when she walks in. What do I have to complain about? Nothing. I damn well better get in line. And if she needs some lemonade with some ice, I need to go get the lemonade. If she need her feet rubbed, I need to do that. If she needs to be at this appointment, I got to call my boss or whoever, say, yo, I can't make it to work. I got to take my wife to oncology because I stood in front of a church and a pastor and her parents and my parents and our friends and family. And I said, I'm going to love her through sickness and health, till death do us part.
Wow.
I made that promise. Ain't nobody had a gun to my head at the altar.
Yeah.
I did that. So you got to bring that stuff back into remembrance.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like, you know, for those that you love and those that you commit to, you really hold on to that word and you don't let whatever circumstances kind of like shift how you might be feeling.
Yeah, nah. And I mean, and the only resentment, I mean, like I'm a faith guy. I'm very big in the church. And we grew up learning was you're not supposed to question God. But like in my mature stages and going through my experiences, like you're supposed to have a relationship with God or a higher spirit. In a relationship, you ask questions. You figure out what's going on. So yes, I was questioning why was my wife going through this? But I also had to understand if that answer never came, then I got to be okay with that. If that answer was him taking her out of here, I got to be okay with that. I can't ask the question and then also want the answer to be what I wanted to hear. Yes, I'm a question God, but if that answer is anything that I want, I got to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
And his answer was he didn't want her to suffer anymore.
I hear you, brother. Let me ask you, during that time, how did you look at your needs, your emotional health, your mental health? Did you have, was it things that you said, you know what, I'm going to have to look for myself first to make sure that mentally, physically, emotionally, I could be there for her? Was that sort of your mindset so that you can, prep yourself up? It sounded like you really had the energy to provide for her. And I can't think of someone not prepping themselves and making sure that they care for themselves to be able to do the task.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the idea of not being able to pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Like how can I care for someone if I'm empty? How can I give anybody anything if I'm empty? How can I give her love if I don't have love in my heart already? How can I give her happiness if I'm not happy? So, and shout out to my village, shout out to my boys, shout out to my parents, shout out to my pastor, my family who brought me up in church and me knowing what faith is and who God is. And I'm lucky, man. I'm lucky, bro. I wish I could put everything into a bullet point list and say, do this, this, and that. But I was lucky, man. I was lucky to be brought up in love, to know what love is, to be shown love. That way I can show it to somebody else. So my cup was already full a long time ago. God prepared me for this thing a long time ago.
That is such a beautiful thing. And, you're in a very special place, to be raised knowing your cup is full. So many people and some of the speakers that in this conference have, and it's really kind of talked about how the world can be toxic, that the world can sometimes give you messages that you are not enough, and people walking around with that feeling that their cup will never be full. What have you learned now? And I don't know if you have any friends your age or just a little bit younger, and I know you talk to a lot of college kids and things like that. How do you address kind of where they're coming from and potentially allow them to start to remember that potentially the lies and the illusions of not being enough is not real? How do they begin to start pouring into into their cup now?
I think we gotta try our best to understand the foundation of self-esteem. The most important word in self-esteem is self. Like being happy is an inside job. You can't rely on an environment, a person, something tangible. That like being happy and loving yourself is an inside job. You have to do that from the beginning because you spend the most time with yourself. You know yourself the best. You were born by yourself. You're gonna die by yourself. Those are the facts. So now you got to understand. Hey, it's not just enough to know this stuff. I must now apply. That's a quote from Bruce Lee. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. I know that in order for me to love somebody else, I need to love myself. Now, how do I do that? Just say, it's easy. Say good things about yourself. What do you like about yourself? If I ask you, what do you like about yourself or what do you don't like about yourself, which question are you quicker to answer? If it's the one that you don't like, let's change that thinking. Now let's make a list. Hey, do you like your smile? Do you like your personality? Can you sing a little bit? Can you dance? What makes you happy? Focus on that. Because guess what? Your time is ticking. You're gonna die soon. Those are the facts. So are you going to die unhappy or are you going to die happy?
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for thrivestatestarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at thrivestatestarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed, and please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
It don't get no simpler than that. And the easiest part of that is an inside job. It's all up to you. It is all up to you. It ain't no money. It ain't no things. It's people who are in mansions and got billions and billions of dollars who are miserable. And there's people out there on the street who may just be living. It's an inside job.
You know, this really kind of talks about, you know, or having this conversation really reminds me of how one could approach this caretaking thing. But it really sounds like, you know, as you become that caretaker, as you take on any other responsibility, the responsibility first is with yourself. And then once you've got that, then you can potentially put on and start to help somebody else, right? Much like the phrase, you know, put on your oxygen mask before others.
Yeah.
So what I'm gathering here is you really, you know, spent your entire life knowing, you know, to fill up your cup, which is why it was so easy for you to take off, you know, part of your life to start caring for somebody else. Was that right?
Well, so now let's not glaze over the last statement. It may look easy, but it was not easy, sir. It was a ride, man. It is mentally draining. At most points you feel helpless. Like there's not a lot of attention paid to the caregiver.
Yeah.
There are resources out there. Me and my wife got involved with the organization called the 24 Foundation. I actually sang the national anthem at their bike ride 2 years in a row. So they'll do an opening bike ride. It's called the 24 Hours of Booty, and everybody's on bikes because their booty is on a bike seat for 24 hours. That's the idea. So you have people who will ride 2 or 3 laps. You have people who ride the whole 24 hours. But it's literally to raise funds for cancer survivors and cancer patients. And then the morning after, they do a survivor's brunch or survivor's breakfast. And my wife and I went to it last year together, and it was something that changed her life. She was able to sit in the circle with people who were going through what she was going through, or who went through what she went through. And so you had the cancer survivors, and then you also had the caretakers on the outside of the circle. It was just a beautiful moment. It is a foundation that'll be a part of my life for the rest of my life. Every time they ask me to come sing the national anthem, I'm gonna be there. But going back to the caretakers, man, it's rough, bro. And let's say at the end of that transition, now all the attention shifts from the patient to the caregiver.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. And I love the fact that you just said that. And so right now, let's just, you know, because you've gone through the process, like, and you really wanted to keep it real there, let's make it really real for the people that are there. You know, let's not make it sunshine and rainbows, but what were the thoughts that were going through your head? How ugly did it get? And then
it sucks.
Once you were in those modes, what were some of your resources? Because I think you're right. We shouldn't downplay, you know, how difficult it was, because there are people listening and they probably want, you know, to be like, oh my God, yes, I feel that way now. And I want somebody to, you know, that I could talk to or know.
There's somebody out there right now.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there right now that's in the valley that is crying, that is broke, that don't know what's going on, don't understand why these doctors are saying what they're saying. And like we went through it through COVID, bro.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even be in the room with her sometimes. Like
yeah,
that shit sucked real bad. Like and at like towards the end of it, bro, she's maybe 100 pounds. We got a 2-story townhouse, and I was literally giving her a bath, and I'm carrying her down the stairs, and I'm like, yo, she's never gonna be on this floor again. How you deal with that? So it gets shitty, it gets rough, it gets ugly, but you keep on going. Because what's the alternative? Give up? I'm not doing that. The alternative is to give up. And nobody will do that. So I understood. You hear a doctor look at your wife and say, yo, you're gonna die from this. And she didn't flinch. She ain't bat an eye. She said, God gonna take care of me. So how do you see that example and be anything but strong? It's impossible. So caregivers, it gets rough, it gets tough. It's gonna be nights you can't sleep. It's gonna be days you ain't ate. You ain't gonna understand what you're going through. It's not gonna be a scripture you can read that can help you. It ain't gonna be a song you can sing. Just know that if you're loving that person that you're taking care of, you're doing your job. And there's going to be a reward for you at some point. Hopefully it's on this side. Hopefully you get your reward on this side. But you do your job, man. You love on that person. Whether you're a spouse, whether you're a child, a friend, you have a unique responsibility to love on somebody who can do nothing for you. You got to show unconditional love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give it a shot.
That's something that I think, I don't know for you, but just hearing that, the ability to feel that unconditional love.
Yeah.
Is a reward in itself, is a true, just knowing of that there's something like that exists that you can possess. Wow.
Yeah, man.
You know, that's wow. If that was the reward itself and you recognize and know that, I would say, wow, like that realization itself is all you need. But can you probably talk about the different type of rewards that you have gotten, you know, after coming out of this experience? I mean, I can already tell you that your unshakable faith, your resilience, how strong you are, and your perspective on life has been so grand. So I mean, that's something I could see, but what's something that you feel has been your reward thus far?
So we live life out loud, man. We use the good parts of social media and build a community in a village that is unbelievable. Like there are people literally all over the world who know who I am and who my wife is. I got a message this morning from a lady in Kenya. It says, hey, I appreciate you. You inspire me. You motivate me. Kenya, South Africa knows who Ray Singleton from Charleston, South Carolina is. It's unbelievable. So the reward is, you know, I'll give you another reward. I do on my Instagram, on my social media, every Monday, it's called Mental Health Monday. And I can't take credit for starting it because it's what my wife did. She would set up the phone every Monday. She would talk about going through chemo and doctor's appointments and just talk about her life. So now I keep that going. About 3 weeks ago, I was getting ready to at the end of the show, I'll ask people to come and join. They'll say hi to me and ask me questions. It was a guy that came in right before I was getting ready to close, and he was literally getting ready to give up. He just needed somebody to pour into him and just tell him that we love him. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna read this text message.
You got it, brother.
He says, I hope that you have a terrific Tuesday. I start my new job Monday the 21st. Then I'll be looking for my own place. If I hadn't talked to you during Mental Health Monday, I would have given up and probably ended my life. I am determined to make it and get back on my feet. You're truly an anointed angel on earth. Continue to pray for me because I know there'll be some hard days ahead. To God be the glory. Thanks, bro.
Oh, man, goosebumps. Why don't you let people know your Instagram, so that they know that they can kind of tune in on Mondays when you do your Mental Health Mondays?
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's Willie, WILLIE_QOOL. Once again, that's WILLIE_QOOL. And I believe if you just search Ray Singleton, my profile will pop up as well. But every single Monday, I'm doing lives and I'm talking about life. I'm crying. Sometimes I pull out my keyboard and I'll sing some songs live. Whenever my band and I have shows, I set up my phone. So Friday, I'm at Dave & Buster's. If y'all are tuning into my live, you see me singing, I'm at Dave & Buster's doing my thing, man.
Wow, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this very emotional experience that you've been through. But through it, I know that people will get a greater sense of faith, a greater sense of resilience, and a greater sense of joy, knowing that what they're going through, this experience, there are huge gifts on the other side of it as well. You gave us your Instagram, and I know you've got a very special gift for the people who sign on to do the VIP lifetime membership.
Absolutely. We were just talking about rewards. We're just talking about rewards. So let's talk about something tangible that we have, man. I've been working on something behind the scenes, and I'm calling it the Unshakable Faith Toolkit. And what it is, it's literally a collection of little tips and tricks, some of the things we talked about, but in a more succinct way that you can now apply to your daily life. Hey, I'm feeling this certain way. What is I can look at this? Something I can take from the toolkit, and you apply it, and it works. So I'm calling it the Unshakable Faith Toolkit. You all know that this is completely free, but if you buy the VIP, you get a special gift from yours truly.
Thank you so much, brother. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your love, your emotion with the people here. I know it's going to help so many people. Thank you for
being you too, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
I hope you enjoyed that excerpt from the Thrive State Summit on this week's episode of the Thrive State podcast. If you want to listen to the full interview along with the full interviews of the 50 thought leaders, experts, and celebrities in the mental health, emotional wellness world, please register for free at thrivestatesummit.com. Again, if you find this podcast useful, please subscribe. Please share this episode with your friends and family members, and do us a favor by leaving us 5-star wherever podcasts are heard. It will help the show grow. And finally, if you haven't already, get the free resources. I have a bundle of longevity as well as peak performance resources to give you, which includes ebooks, lecture notes, breathwork exercises. You can get them all at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you again. Thanks for being a part of our community and our mission to really elevate human potential. And remember always, you are your best medicine.